Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the GCRF AgriFood Africa virtual missions. My name is Pedro Carvalho, and I'm a Knowledge Transfer Manager for KTN. This morning, we have four great speakers that I'm sure you will very much enjoy and appreciate the content that they kindly provided us. But before we start, let me run through a few points that I would like to bring to your attention. The presentations are being broadcasted via YouTube and Facebook, as you've been watching, and we will make them available after this meeting. So you can, if you miss anything, you can always go back and view this content again. The presentations today are pre-recorded, and we've done this to minimize any chance of having technical difficulties. But if there's any delays in the sound, bear in mind that nobody that was asked to do this is an audio person. We are all doing this from home due to the current COVID situation. You can interact with us, and we encourage you to do so. And you do that by tapping on the chat function on YouTube or Facebook during the presentations, or at the live Q&A session, and then we'll ask those questions to the speakers. We very much look forward to having you with us today. If you want to tweet about this event, you can do so by using the hashtag AgriFood Africa. We also encourage you to connect with each other and network by using the Meeting Mojo platform. The link is on the slide, but we will also drop that link in the chat box on YouTube and Facebook. So tomorrow we'll have a really nice Q&A panel session that we would like you to participate, and so we can have quite a nice discussion and wrap up the week. So I would like to introduce to our panel now. We'll start with a talk by Professor Isael da Silva, Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation from Strathmore University. Then we'll have a chat by Gabriel Bruckner, from the lead designer at Climate Edge. Then we'll have a talk by Jeremy Cordingley, founder and managing director from Cropnuts. And finally, last but not least, Nicholas Ambanya from Twiga. Yes, without further ado, let's play the presentations and see you shortly at the Q&A session.
Okay. My name is Professor Da Silva. I am the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research and Innovation for Strathmore University, which is a private university in Kenya. I am meant to talk to you this morning or afternoon about the academic landscape in Kenya. And I begin by having a kind of outline where we have higher education in Kenya. We are interested in seeing degrees and masters and PhDs, and then opportunities for graduates when somebody gets a degree here in this country. What next? And then third is the role of academia in innovation, which is something that we are. The country is quite innovative, and we are pursuing it as one of the lines. So if you look at the landscape of education in Africa, you may find that, Kenya is not there. You see, globally, you have the best country in terms of higher education is United Kingdom, followed by United States, Canada, France, as you are seeing there. And then in Africa, you have South Africa. The top 10 universities in Africa, 5 are from South Africa, 3 from Egypt, and 2 from Nigeria, as per 2019. And then Kenya does not quite appear. But somehow it was not captured, but this country, which is part of East Africa, is a kind of a center of excellence in third level education, especially in two areas, which is business and information technology. So, which are the institutions that teach, offer degree in Kenya? Well, we have that there is a great demand. In 2003, the government made primary education to be free and compulsory. In 2008, the government made the secondary studies to be free but not compulsory. But the fact that they made provision to offer free primary and secondary education, it creates a kind of a huge number of people going into third level degree after say 2003, 17 years, or 2008, 12 years. Yeah. So today we have a very interesting document that was launched this year, 2020, and it is there. According to them, the number of number of technical and vocational education and trainings, called TVET, institutions has increased by more than 10%. So we have 2,191 in last year. So and the number of universities are 63, though there are a number of universities which are working without the charter, because they have letters of interim. They are 7, so it makes 70 their number. So factors that influence the quality of higher education in Kenya. Kenya attracts quite a number of people from other nations in the African continent because of what I mentioned before, the quality of their education, mainly in IT and business. So the idea of quality, for instance, in this university I work for, we have about 40 different nationalities in our body of students, and we have 10 from European countries, for instance, Italy, Spain, France, UK, Netherlands, Switzerland, Belgium, Germany, India, Pakistan. So they're here, and they come. Well, they find in that area some inequality, and then also what happens is that the government takes quite seriously the issue of education, and the parents and the students they really appreciate education a lot more, for instance, than in, say, Brazil. I have this experience because I'm a Brazilian, and then I taught actually at secondary level and university level in Brazil, and the level of engagement and interest of the students in Kenya, for instance, is much higher than the ones, their counterparts in Brazil. Yeah. So, this makes for an interesting industry of, I would say, now for the thing. So how is enrollment? So the number of students placed by Kenya University and colleges, there is a placement body. There is a national examination of secondaries, and then secondary students, and then the top ones that get C+ and above, they qualify to join university. And then there is this placement services central that distributes these individuals in the, say, 70 universities in the country. So yeah, in this 2019-2020, the number of people placed went up 30%. So we got about 70,000 almost people in 2018, and then in 2019 it went to close to 90,000 people. Obviously, it causes a bit of a problem because once they graduate, some of them may not, depending mainly also of the degree they are doing, they may not find a suitable job, so they eventually go and work in some other things which are not exactly what they study at the university. So, okay, also a great number of students join the so-called TVET, that is Technical and Vocational Educational Training Institutions. So, the government has put a lot of interest in this, a lot of national funds for building this TVET, and also has requested the other countries to help Kenya in that. For instance, Germany is deeply involved with the development of TVET. And then it is like that because the informal economy in Kenya is much bigger than the formal economy. And the informal economy is basically made up from people who went through the training and the vocational and technical training, right? Here you can see government-sponsored students, and you can see that there is quite a number of them in the vocational and the educational training. The TVETs is the green bars that you are seeing there. Okay, so what are the opportunities for graduates now once they finish their university? You can see this graphic is quite shocking because you can see the number of people who get employment in the formal sector, mainly government and a bit of the industry and the finance and IT industry in this country, but the great majority are in the informal sector, which is mostly are in up country, in rural areas where they do farming, but in a small scale farm like half an acre and an acre, things like that. They plant tea, for instance, and they sell to factories, etc. So, and then in town they work with the so-called, we call it here juakali, which is a special name for non-formal industry. You know, they make wheelbarrows and boxes and things like that in a certain area of Nairobi, and most of them they come from the TVET. Yeah. So technical and vocational training play a key role in the job creation in the informal sector. Right. Now, how about the issue of academia and innovation? We've been, practically all universities here, they have adopted and made mainstream the so-called incubators and accelerators. So we encourage the students to pick up subjects related with entrepreneurship and innovation, and we encourage them to start still in the university during the 4 years of university to engage already in business. Most of them, they go into commerce and IT, but quite a number have gone also into the agribusiness. Yeah? And there is a project of the government now that has put some $20 million there with the help of EU to further the cause of agribusiness, mainly for women and for the youth. And we expect this also to have a high impact in the development of the country. Finally, the government of Kenya has developed a vision called Vision 2030, that for these 10 years between 2020 and 2030, they want the economy to grow in 4 areas. One of them is manufacturing, the other is housing, the other is health, but the number 4 is agriculture. So it is going to be an interesting journey in these 10 years that we are starting this year. So finally, this is my last slide. One of the things that we do in Strathmore is to train people on all-round education, in which we do a lot of put a lot of stress in research and service to society. And this has helped us quite a bit because through this we got a lot of interesting partnerships, and other universities also have with good universities in the UK. For instance, in our case we have partnership with Oxford, with Loughborough University, with the what's the name of this Imperial College, yes, there. And you have others, St. Gallen's, for instance, Sciences Po in France. So because of the idea of all-round education, of creating a kind of an ecosystem that make you a better person as you go about your academic journey, has helped us to really put ourselves a little bit more, and Kenya a little bit more, into the global landscape of education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Israel, for your overview of the academic landscape in Kenya. We are now going to hear Gabriel Bruckner talking about the services offered by Climate Edge to smallholder farmers in Africa.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel and I am the head of design at Climate Edge. We work predominantly in tropical agriculture, connecting smallholder farmers to the services they need to build a profitable and sustainable farming business. We explore with service providers how to best offer their services to a user group which, so far, has had only very little access to value-adding services. These services will then be powered by Climate Edge. Our mission is to increase access to value-adding services to improve smallholder productivity and profitability. We are creating a standardized marketplace infrastructure to optimize delivery of services and make them affordable for farmers and profitable for providers. Now, what services are we talking about? Digital agricultural services are services which add value specifically to the agricultural value chain and are delivered usually through a digital medium, such as a smartphone app or in our case SMS, rather than using the traditional extension agent methodology. There are different types of agricultural services we are looking to deliver. There is advisory agronomic support, so digitally delivered information on topics such as agronomic best practices, pest and disease management, weather, etc. And the AgriTech 7 project I will describe later is about delivering this kind of service to smallholder farmers. Then there is market facilitation, digitally enabled solutions that link smallholder farmers to high quality farm inputs, so anything the farmer needs, or to offtake markets, anyone who buys from a farmer. Financial services relevant for smallholder farmers, such as digital payments, savings, smallholder credits, insurances, etc. There is supply chain management to manage relationships, lower costs, increase efficiency, and improve value chain quality. And then there is macro data intelligence. So data analytic solutions and digital support tools that integrate a variety of data sources and provide insights to all sorts of different stakeholders, from governments to NGOs, policymakers, etc. Here is an illustration of how our platform and service offering work based on the example of an irrigation service. The first step, we work with a service provider to integrate their service on our platform and add it to our service library. For example, one of our partners has developed an irrigation model for bananas. We then link up all the additional data which is necessary to deliver this model via APIs, for example, weather data, soil moisture, and then deliver a tailored irrigation service via SMS to the farmers. The IP for the model stays with the service provider, and they can also decide if they want to charge the farmers for that service, which we can also facilitate. Our main users on the farmer side are cooperatives, organized farming organization, but also multinational organizations who work very closely with small producers. On the service provider side, we are working with three key entities. Academic and research institutes. They have a vast wealth of existing services and expert academics, but usually little or no capacity to deliver these services directly to farmers. There are non-local private service providers, so they are already offering a service to, for example, large-scale farms or in different geographies, like in Europe, and they are keen to reach new users, but usually have no access to the dispersed smallholder market, and that's where we come in to facilitate that access. And then there are local private service providers. So they are already delivering a service to smallholder farmers, and we provide them with the opportunity to reduce their service delivery cost and potentially open doors to a larger user base. So, for example, that might be a beekeeping specialist in Kenya who provides training and wants to offer this to a bigger audience. Our AgriTech Catalyst project was about exploring the feasibility of providing advisory agronomic support with the help of soil data, specifically for tea farming in Kenya. The key objectives here were to identify key soil health challenges for Kenya's tea production, so thus the soil support tea production, identify and assess appropriate soil intervention solutions. How can we improve the soil to support tea production? Determine key challenges in implementing these interventions. So what's accessible to smallholders and what is generally an adequate solution? Develop simple testing regimes to guide when interventions should be used. That was mainly about suitability, scalability, and also cost. Develop methodology to successfully implement soil interventions. That very much focused on finding a practical solution. Then develop a commercial proposition for soil management. This was about building a sustainable and scalable solution. The consortium was formed by 5 different players. Ourselves, Climate Edge, our role was to build a scalable implementation solution integrated into and supported by a digital platform, but delivered through low-tech solutions just like SMS. Sustainable Ventures did the project management. Cranfield University brought the expertise in soil analysis and management for tea cultivation. Producers Direct were the implementation partner. And Siret OEP is the 6,000 member strong tea cooperative that we were working with in the North Rift in Kenya to test and implement these solutions. During the course of the project, we traveled to Kenya twice in order to explore what soil analysis methods are feasible. This was a fairly long process because traditionally soil analysis is done by taking a representative soil sample and sending it to a lab for a wet chemistry process, which is difficult to scale and expensive. The team from Cranfield was very methodical about selecting, executing and evaluating the different testing procedures, and the staff and farmers of Siret Cooperative organized the soil collection and testing by the labs in Kenya and provided valuable feedback of what is feasible and useful. Some of the challenges we faced, for example, regulations around exporting soil samples from Kenya, keeping samples refrigerated to avoid degradation, sourcing suppliers in Kenya for some of the consumables needed for one of the testing methods, and also mainly deciding which analysis method would give us the right values for this purpose and would be most suitable. There were some really interesting key findings which impacted the course and the future development of this project. First, there was the issues around how smallholders applied fertilizer. It was based on general agricultural practice and fertilizer was applied with no real difference across thousands of smallholder farms with strong soil variations. Building a digital farmer soil database could optimize the value gained because on the back of that soil data, we could access additional benefits for the farmers. During the project, the opportunity arose to use the so-called nutrient balance model. It's a different way of judging the fertilizer requirement of the plant by measuring the green leaf harvest. And we made some progress on the model licensing and the opportunity to scale this with a major commercial tea grower. Unilever was interested to expand this service to their smallholders. And then those new findings and opportunities for collaboration resulted in a subsequent successful grant application for implementing and scaling this solution. So through our extensive field work and conversations and workshops with the farmers, cooperative agronomists, and the Cranfield scientists, we were able to gain some valuable insights for delivering this service. We discovered that delivering the individual soil analysis solution as initially intended was not possible in a project of this scope, but we learned that by implementing the nutrient balance model, we can already have a significant impact on fertilizer scheduling, volume, and therefore input cost. Most of the data the model uses already exists, and we are currently setting up the infrastructure to calculate the results for thousands of farmers and deliver them via SMS to each individual farmer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. It was great to know about the technologies and services offered by Climate Edge to smallholder farmers. Our next speaker is Jeremy Cordingley from Cropnuts that will tell us how agronomy, technology, and big data can add value to farmers in Africa.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Cordingley, founder and managing director of Cropnuts. My talk today is about hands-on agronomy and the key to ensuring big data adds value to farmers. Cropnuts is a group of companies based in Africa with a parent company in the UK. Cropnuts Crop Nutrition Laboratory Services, we're an African company. We are an independent laboratory and agronomy services business operating across Africa for the last 20 years. Most importantly, we're an ISO 17025 accredited laboratory, meaning that we're providing laboratory testing services to the highest international standard. We operate in three key areas. We have three pillars: laboratory services, agronomy, and IT solutions. So in the laboratory service, we are offering quality, independent analytical services for soils, plant, water. In the agronomy division, we add value to this laboratory work by being on farmers' fields, helping them to improve their production process. And on the technology, we have a data science and software development team whereby we develop the platforms to scale laboratory and agronomy services to hundreds of thousands of small farmers. In our experience and our transition, we've moved from the left side, which is mainly around soils research and quality analytical services, looking at crop diagnostics, food safety, livestock nutrition, precision farming software, into more local site-specific recommendations. And this is the beauty of technology, allowing us to take those services and take them closer to small farmers. By delivering this type of AI machine learning based technology, we're able to do on-site laboratory testing. We're able to give information from image recognition on pest management practices. We back this up with trials-driven agronomy, so crop trials in the field, and using a lot of data processing and cloud services, we'll be able to scale these services. Our agronomy platform is broken into three. In the top right there, we've got the diagnostics, which is the laboratory testing. And key to this, for this particular focus, is our ability to, and our technology around mobile soil testing. Taking traditional bricks and mortar testing and taking this into the field for smallholder farmers. In the bottom right there, we have our agronomy services. So this is the backstopping all of our recommendations is field trials in different regions, being able to advise based on evidence. And in the left bottom there, we've got the precision farming using satellite imagery, geospatial positioning to be able to map soils and soil quality, both at a national level, but also at a local field level. And we combine all this with weather data from satellites and weather stations to provide our independent agronomy platform. In terms of the questions, we get a lot of very similar questions from a lot of different types of farmers. What are my main farming risks? What can I grow here? How do I know when to irrigate? What should be the crop rotation? How can I increase my yields? Many of these questions we feed into our system, and we're able to answer these through our combination of analytics, agronomy, and precision farming. Crop trials. Here you see some crop trials on the left, some soya trials. This is in Western Kenya, and some barley trials in Tanzania. And here we're proving what types of varieties, what types of fertilizers, crop inputs work best in different regions. And we're able to then provide this to farmers so that our advice is always evidence-based. And that's really key to our whole success. Estimating the yield potential of land. This is very important because at the surface it might appear that all land is equal, but actually it's far from the truth. So some types of soils and lands are able to sustain highly profitable cropping systems, whereas others are weaker soils in poorer climates which don't have the ability to produce these types of high yielding crops. So doing these types of surveys for investors in greenfield sites across Africa helps these investors to decide on whether a potential investment is viable or not. These types of trials as well on large-scale farms help us to decide on the types of fertilizer and nutrient programs to be able to deliver optimum yields to these farmers. So we do a lot of strip trials in fields, testing products all the time to see what the winning combinations are. Satellite imagery, farming from space, getting the imagery from satellites, able to tell us how the crop is performing in different parts of the field. So the mobile phone application there on the left, you can see the darker green bits. That's a stronger crop, and lighter green bits means weaker. So our field team can arrive at a farm, go into the field and immediately detect and isolate the problem areas, take soil samples, take leaf samples, send them to the lab or their local farm lab clinic and diagnose the problem. Following on, different applications of satellites are able to map the color of soils, and soil color means that there's a differentiation in the soils which leads through to differences in water holding capacity or fertility or the ability to sustain a crop, and therefore allows us to advise farmers on management practices even within a field. If there's a poor area of land, we would reduce the inputs there and then increase the inputs on stronger land. So this is what you call precision farming. Drones are always a hot topic and a fantastic tool for micro level investigations into field and crop health. Difficult to scale across countries and continents, but very powerful at the field level. All this information has to be delivered to farmers, whatever their size. For smallholder farmers, we use SMS based. We use bot technology and interactive reports to show what's happening with their soils and what they need to correct it. The delivery and the knowledge transfer and the infographics around that is really an art in itself. So our future is in data-driven agronomy, taking a lot of these data inputs, the soil quality, the crop diagnostics, the trials, the drone, the soil moisture information, combining that with third-party satellite and weather data, putting this through our communication channels, which is our technology, and providing really valuable services to farmers, to finance insurance companies working around risk, to input suppliers who want to know what fertilizers to sell where, in which parts of a country or which parts of Africa, to governments looking at policies on inputs or farming or agriculture, and to investors for land valuation, and to research institutes as well. So these are the types of clients that we work with. And of course, the top of that client list was the farmer, and these are some of our happy farmers who've basically got the basics right. They've started with the soil, and we've helped them step by step to increase their yields, be it maize farmers, tomato farmers, or potato farmers. And that's our story, moving farm by farm across Africa to help farmers to increase their yields using data-driven agronomy with technology as the scale. Thanks for listening. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Jeremy. It was good to know how Cropnuts is using technology-based agronomy to help farmers increase their yields. We are now going to hear Nicholas Abanya from Twiga to tell us about the use of innovation and technology to develop a seamless and integrated supply chain system in Kenya.
Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you our experience in the good agribusiness value chain from the standpoint of Twiga Foods Limited, a company that is based out in Nairobi, Kenya. My name is Nicholas Ambanya, the Chief Production Officer at Twiga Foods. To start with, I would like to let you know what our purpose is as a company. Our purpose is to improve access to a lower cost and higher quality food across African cities. Closer home in Nairobi, where we are situated and where we operate from, with a workforce of just about 9,000 employees, we serve slightly above 5,000 retailers every single day with the product that has been sourced from over 17,000 farmers that are spread across the country. Our purpose has been informed by the understanding that average food and beverage spend in the sub-Saharan Africa amounts to 44% of daily disposable income. In particular, in Kenya, we are sitting at 55% in this regard. At Twiga Foods, therefore, are set out to reduce the cost of food in this regard. What I'm showing on the next screen is a basic overview of what our value chain looks like. And so, taking banana, for instance, as one of our lead product, from farmers, we are able to aggregate the product in collection centers. Then from collection centers, where the product is received, post-handled in the way that's required or specific to that product, We then transport this product to a warehouse that is based in Nairobi. From the warehouse, we have built a distribution system that then delivers this product to our vendors and other customer segments in the course of the day. And as you can see, averagely 7,800 vendors that are served by this product of banana. To make us understand the kind of market we are serving at the moment, the next slide shows the type of customer segment that we have come up with. These customer segments have been derived based on their location, based on the income levels of populations that frequent these outlets, just to be able to have an understanding of how best to serve our customers in this various segments that they exist. Therefore, our strategies on how to efficiently and effectively serve our customers have been specifically designed for each of the market segment, so to be able to attract maximum impact. At the core of our operation is the development and deployment of a seamless architecture of IT and advanced analytics. Now, we have applied this particular IT infrastructure to help with managing the sourcing, the core ERP system, and the sales. And as you can see, the functions under sourcing, we are able to capture the farmer profile, the farm itself, the harvesting plans are able to be scheduled, the harvesting is able to be planned, and also mobile money payments take place. And the capabilities of the systems are clearly defined below here in terms of the kind of efficiency and effectiveness it brings to our system of sourcing. Under core system, ERP system, business intelligence that is key to our decision making, where we are able to collect data from different markets, analyze the data, and plan, make a decision, and all that again is taken care of, leading to real-time performance management dashboards that the management is able to use to make decisions. When it comes to sales, we are able to capture the details of our retailers, our order generation, their order generation exercise or process. We are able to monitor delivery fulfillment, m-commerce ordering, where the vendors are able to make their orders on the digital platform and have the deliveries confirmed on the same, mobile money payments, and also be able to manage our sales team in terms of being able to know where they are, what they're doing, how many customers they have met, and so on and so on. Basically giving us the ability to have granular segmentation of retailers by various criteria and so forth. This architecture is into four main areas of application. The first one being where we're able to manage the data related to a particular shop, so we know which shop, we have a photo of that shop, and we have geo. We have done what we call smart geo-tagging by monitoring activities tied to the shop and updating locations, especially when it comes to mobile vendors who move from time to time. When it comes to routing, using a routing software that is integrated into our system, we are able to manage order scheduling in a preset manner to optimize distance and travel times for delivery teams. When it comes to fintech, we are able to manage and implement vendor financing by trigger partners on the completion of a delivery. And so this has enabled us to transition to a more seamless interaction for vendors and providing optionality via marketplace. And so vendor financing is purely integrated again in our digital platform for farmers to access the financial services. And finally, the supply chain, where we are able to achieve scalable and efficient procurement and settlement to farmers all over the country. So we're able to make our payments in real time, very fast enough, and direct to the farmer accounts, eliminating any type of inefficiencies that come with the payments. And this has become a value proposition for us as a company. supply diversification to enable us diversified supplier base from where we can actually source our product. With the complex value chain management practices that we have actually put in place, we've been able to call out the value proposition for both the farmer and the buyer. And basically, for us as a company, we are able to achieve aggregation through accessible network of collection centers, enabling us to be able to source from fragmented suppliers in remote regions of the country. But for the farmer, then he has access to reliable, transparent, and market for farmers, reducing the side selling and any other inefficiency that comes with the lack of information. Using then our system efficiency, whereby we aggregate and also make use of a central warehouse that is based in Nairobi, we are able to offer value propositions for the farmer that include security of supply, direct delivery, low prices, cashless process, digital transaction history, which can then help the farmer to access financial services, meaning credit, but more important again, food safety, as we encourage our farmers to grow products under global gap certification. That's all from me. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions or clarify any points. Thank you for listening to me.
To thank our speakers for the very informative talks, and we are now open for Q&As. So I see that we already have some questions in the chat box, so I'll start with one question for Gabriel. So Gabriel, you mentioned that the balance of testing samples locally with the challenge of scale and the economy vs challenges of shipping tests outside of Kenya. Is local testing better? And if so, how do you achieve local testing that is accurate and effective?
Thanks for the question. Actually, that might have been a slight misunderstanding or miscommunication on my side. So local testing is definitely available in Kenya and completely reliable. I mean, Cropnuts, for example, is a very good and reliable partner for those sort of analysis. The reason why we took it out of Kenya was for specific tests on some of the trials, so that the team from Cranfield was able to run some additional sample testing in the UK and then figure out what the best method was. So that was more of a scoping exercise rather than something that we would implement in the future. So yeah, we're definitely looking at ways for testing the samples in country as locally as possible, because the main question is around how to scale something that is traditionally a batch process in a way that's accessible and affordable for smallholder farmers. Okay,
thank you very much. So I have another, or along those lines, to Jeremy. So it looks impressive. It's from Duncan Allen, and your use of data looks impressive, and the technologies you have at your end are quite nice. So what Duncan is asking is, what is the profile of your typical clients? Because the services look expensive for the typical $1 a day smallholder farmers. So how do you monetize that, and what is a typical profile of your clients?
Yeah, so thanks, Pedro. Thanks, Duncan. Yeah, 10 minutes is quite a short time to discuss and share, a lot about or enough about the business. But yeah, we have essentially three types of clients. We've got the corporate clients who are sort of willing to pay more for a lot of the services and, high precision services. And then obviously we've got a sector in the middle, which is what we call the digital farmers. These are independent farmers growing high value vegetable crops like onions and tomatoes, for example, for local markets. And then we've got the business to business value chain small farmers who we offer lower cost services using newer technology and techniques to scale. So the types of soil tests that we offer to a corporate farmer, an accredited export bean farmer, are very different to the types of tests that we would offered to a smallholder tea farmer, for example. So it's just about understanding who they are, what do they need, and we just believe that, you know, if a farmer gets an increase in yield from applying the right types of fertilizer at the right rates, and they get return on investment, then that's really what drives us. And so the pricing is based around whether the farmer is getting a return on investment or not.
Okay, thank you. By the way, Jeremy, do you offer CRO, contract research services, to external companies, like British companies that would like to do field trials in Africa? Would you do that type of service too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do a lot of that type of work, Pedro. So, you know, especially for product development types of work around fertilizers and IPM products, for example, but also looking at different varieties and yeah, integrating it into our agronomy platform. So we've got different trial sites around the country and the region.
Okay, that's really good to know for some of our collaborators. I'd like to ask Nicholas a question. So how translatable is your platform for other African countries? Will Twiga expand to other countries in Africa?
Thank you for that question. Yes, it's actually a repeatable model, to use the right word. And after testing it in Nairobi City, we are now expanding it to other Kenyan cities with a now a sure formula of how to do it. And to answer the second question, yes, we are actually set to set a station in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, in January next year. We were supposed to have done it by December this year, but the corona pandemic has slowed down things a bit. But we'll be implementing this across other African cities, starting with Abidjan, Ivory Coast. And then we'll move to most likely Accra in Ghana, up to Cairo and other cities. And then we also see cities around Kenya, that East Africa, will be more of an extension of Nairobi. So yes, it's a repeatable model. It can work anywhere because all you need to do is go and identify the basket that an ordinary retail outlet would offer to their customers, and then plug in and you are good to go.
Very interesting. So we have a question for you, Nicholas, from Simon Holland. And he asks, what are the main challenges you still face? It seems a very integrated platform, but what are the main challenges you face to integrate and to establish?
Okay, I guess his question is based on the platform, which is a digital platform. Now, when we're looking at ordinary vendor or ordinary owner of a kiosk or a retail outlet, one of the many challenges is credit or financing. And what happened is that these are quite small-sized business units. And when it comes now to integration, is that we want, because having come up with a digital platform, one of the things that we've achieved speed, we've achieved velocity and efficiency. And therefore, we want that anything that the vendor or the farmer needs must be available on that single platform. And so we've had challenges getting financial institutions or providers, service providers, being able to integrate into our platform, because that's what we insist for the customer who is the vendor or the farmer to have a good experience. They need to be able to do all these things in a very simple way on a single platform. So integration is one of the challenges that we've been facing with our platform. Yes.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Professor Israel, you mentioned, I have a question for you. So you mentioned an all-round education benefits your students. How do you encourage interest in farming as a modern career?
All right. We actually have an interesting way of approaching that we ask the students when they come here whether their parents or other relatives have some business in related with agriculture. And quite a number of them, they do have it. So we encourage them, mainly the students of commerce, but not on, it's open to all. We encourage them to then take a practical look at their academic journey as they move, studying things like market and say things related to taxations and logistics. And also we have inside of campus an institution called IBIS Africa. And this institution is an incubator accelerator, which they can, every so often we do what we call 48 hours garage. We get them coming with ideas, and then we select 10, they come in, and then they are supported to develop their business idea. So that's one way we do. But then there's a second way, which is at the graduate level. We offer in our business school a master's in agribusiness. Now, this master's is interesting because you are only admitted if you have a farm. It could be even half an acre of land somewhere, and if you live in town. So it is specifically for the so-called phone farmers. So in these ones, we now train them at the graduate level on all sorts of things related with the crop, with the logistics, with the marketing, with so many things, technology, and then they graduate with it's a thesis, but it has a kind of a practical aspect to it because they did it on their own business.
Okay, thank you very much, Israel. I have another question for Jeremy. What is the balance of digital input and human experience in assisting the farmers? Oh, sorry, Jeremy, you are on mute.
Right.
Thank you.
That's a great question, and one that's very close to my heart. I think there's a danger of over digitizing farming. Because I believe that having seen what's going on in the last 20 years, that actually most farmers are not even doing the basics right. So it has to be a balance. You have to be able to do the agronomy with a trained agronomist, and the digital technology is supporting the agronomist in the field to make the right decisions for the farmer. And trying to edge out the agronomist by a cost, so that the technology is making too many decisions. I think there's a big danger of developing platforms and recommendations that are not practical and are not correct. So at Cropnuts, we've got a training center. We're training agronomists to support the likes of Twiga, where Nicholas works. And so we provide the technology to complement the agronomist and train the agronomist up to deliver the service. So we find that balance is absolutely critical.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have one more question from Andrew Ritchie for Nicholas. Where do you see the largest future gains in terms of cost and availability of food? At the production end or at the logistics and supply chain? So I'll repeat the question again. So where do you see the largest future gains in terms of costs and availability of food at the production end or at the logistics and supply chain?
Thank you, Andy. Actually, we see it on both. After working in this value chain for quite some time, as Twiga, we want to make a difference in the supplies value chain in terms of logistics. What we've seen is that we've been accused of eliminating middlemen and things like that. But the way I've responded to that question in the media many times, I've said that we are not getting anyone out of business. We are reforming the way people do business. And the reforms is about, if you want to work with the farmer and the consumer, then you must take the both interests at heart for that business to be sustainable. So if you want to pay the farmer a price that is below the production cost, then you are not thinking about tomorrow. If also you want to take all the profits and
Sorry, Nicholas, you are on mute. Oh.
Okay. I saw a message saying that the host is muting me. I thought you were stopping me from talking. Yeah. So that's the reform is about having a sustainable ecosystem where every player in the value chain has some sustainability aspects. So the farmer gets the right price to be able to afford the next production cycle. The consumer gets a fair price to be able to afford that meal. And then the middleman, then or the facilitator who is triggering this place, or any other person gets a fair share of the efforts. Now, and therefore, there is a lot of saving in terms of efficiency creation, the logistics system which Triggers is trying to do. And indeed, we are now delivering product at a cheaper cost because we've streamlined the logistics part of it. But also, we've also working with Jeremy and others, we also note that there is a lot of potential on the side of the farmer. Andy, if the farmers currently the farmers are experiencing very low yields for reasons that Jeremy has already talked about. I won't go into that, the basics like that. There is a big chance that if the farmer can attain the optimum yields per unit area, that will result into also a huge savings on cost. As a matter of fact, cost of production is a factor of yield and input cost. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your input, Nicholas. Unfortunately, we are now running out of time, so let me close this session by thanking our speakers for all the effort and time they've put in preparing these presentations and all your input during this Q&A session. Thank you, all of you, for attending this session. And let me remind you of the formal networking event through the meeting module platform tomorrow at 10 a.m. Also, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., we will have an excellent Q&A panel session to wrap up this week. And it would be really nice if all of you could attend, and so we could have a great discussion. So I very much look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and thank you.